Round 6 of the BMW IBSF two-man bobsleigh World Cup at Königssee in Bavaria. We're at the oldest artificial ice track in creation, opened in 1969, and as much of a challenge now as it has ever been. Heading into the second heat, the decider in this race. I'm Martin Haven, alongside me John Morgan, and John, it is tight at the top.
Well, top three sleds, well, there's a couple Germans at the top, but didn't expect the Steve Holcomb and Carlos Valdez of the United States. Holcomb, who knows how to drive as good as anybody, but this is a short track, 1,300 meters, different than that 1,700 meter track at St. Moritz, where he could use his driving to get himself a medal last week. Here, that short track, it's difficult to do what he does. And here, well, this isn't difficult for Francisco Friedrich. He's won 3 times. He's so close to the World Cup lead, which he'll probably capture with a second place finish today. And he's challenging for the gold medal. He's trying to chase down his young teammate, who's from Berchtesgaden, Johannes Lochner, Joshua Bloom. Well, he won in St. Moritz last week. He won 2 4-man races previous to that, and this young 26-year-old is on a mission to become Germany 1. And he's getting pushed by Friedrich, who's won the World Championship on this track a few years ago. And Martin, is going to be pretty tight. It's real tight all the way through the top 10.
Well, listen, top 8 sleds covered by 2600ths of a second, a third of a second from 1st to 10th. But 1700s will possibly decide the medals. Don't count out Oskars Kiebermanis or Benny Meyer. We should see a lot of changes in the second heat. Look at that, Nico Walter in 13th place. 4 sleds covered by 200ths of a second, down to 16th. From Loic Kostage, 21st on down. 10 sleds do not get a second heat. Only the fast 20 go through. And we start with a tiebreaker. Well, some of the sleds have already packed up and gone home. The remainder are still in position, ready to race. Air temperature +1, ice -2. That's about 5 degrees warmer than it was in training. Torsten Margis on the left, Francesco Friedrich on the right. Last time they raced here as a duo, they won. Friedrich took a bronze medal in the last race here with Candy Bauer behind him, but it is Hannes Lochner, the local boy from Berchtesgaden, who leads. There's Oskars Melbardis. He's in the hunt for medals as well in 4th, just 300ths out of a medal. Steve Holcomb lying in 3rd place will be his prime target. And he has also taken medals on this track, but Melbardis has never won in 2-man. 20 sleds go through into the second and deciding heat. A tie between Rudy Ronaldo and Cody Basque will need to be sorted out. That's our first port of call. And then we go from last to fast. The defending leader, Johannes Lochner, will be the last man on the ice. And as the sun starts to sink, the temperature plummets as well, and the ice might get harder and fast. The track record was broken, equaled by the very first sled, and broken twice in the first heat. It could go again. 20 sleds to decide the positions. Race 6 of the BMW IBSF two-man bobsleigh World Cup. Rudy Rinaldi of Monaco with fellow 22-year-old, his brakeman Boris Vain. They were in a tie for 19th, tied to the 100th with the USA's Cody Basque.
They had the 15th best start, but they had like the 20th best velocity. Boris, one of the biggest brakemen in the field that's watching, 497th, 200's worse, 56.6. Keep your eyes on those numbers. One thing is the start, the second thing is the velocity, which is timed right before the first curve.
Through the 4 S-curves and onto this long, comically named straight. As you can see, there's 1, 2, 3 bends in it.
He had all his problems there in the first heat. Remember, he skidded sideways into the Yana curve right behind our commentary box. Much better second run.
Down the lower labyrinth, this is where it can get very painful. He squeezes through there nicely.
Echo Von, big sweeping left. Now you come uphill into the, what I call the graveyard section of the track. You're going uphill. No mistakes allowed. This is a gravity sport, and when you're going uphill, a mistake can just magnify.
Well, that's 1600ths of a second faster than his first heat. And there hasn't been an awful lot of time, just 20 minutes after the last lead went down before the next one, and we had spur bobs in between, so no time for track prep. I think the ice will get harder and faster as this hour-long heat progresses. Rudy Rinaldi, though, has the lead for Monaco. Monaco celebrating their 30th anniversary with the Bobsled Federation this season.
Much better run, second run, than his first run. His first run was something he'll want to forget. Look at the German crowd here. This is like going to watch a hockey game in the Montreal Forum. This is probably the most educated bobsled, luge, and skeleton audience that we find on the planet.
Cody Basque and Sam McGuffey of the USA were tied for 19th place, 100th behind 18th position. So a three-sled tangle at the bottom of the top 20 here. Had a long drift down the bend away as well, Basque in the first heat. If he can tidy that up, he could move up the order.
Like a little issue here with the D-rings.
Well, this is getting their galoshes in to protect the spikes.
37 seconds to go. There you go, 35 seconds to go. McGuffey, football player, University of Michigan, then to Rice, then in the CFL. Basque from Whitehall, New York, not far from Lake Placid. Pretty good start in the first run, too. 93, 12th best start. In, down, McGuffey, good technique. 95, 200 slower, just like the Monegasque were slower. 56.6, exact same speed, velocity as the Monegasque.
100th of a second in it. They were tied after the first 1,330 meters, and they are almost tied again. And
that's not good.
That's exactly what happened in the first heat, only worse.
Yeah, well, it happened to Monaco. It didn't happen to Basque. 112 speed. I don't think he's going to be able to get out of this. He's going to probably fall to the Monegasque. He lost at least half a second, quarter of a second on that skid.
Won't drop out to the top 20, but this will not be a big result, I'm afraid, for the young American.
Boy, he's going to get beat by over a half second in the second run. That's incredible. 61 hundredths he got beat in the second run. He was 4,800 slow.
Yep.
The Monegasque were 1,500s better.
Well, we said it earlier, if this was drift competition down the bend away, he'd be scoring big style results, but it isn't.
The only person worse than that in the first run was his teammate, Justin Olsen, who probably was just as bad as this. Once you make that little mistake, you're supposed to take your hit and get away with it. You try and steer out of it, you compound the mistake, and that shows you, in a sport separated by hundredths of seconds, 10 sleds separated by 20 hundredths, he just got beat by a half second.
Yeah.
He was tied with the previous team.
And that track is absolutely flat. There is nowhere to hide, no help from the corners. 100th ahead of our current leader, Rudy Rinaldi of Monaco, after the first heat. Dong-Young Kim of Korea lies 8th in World Cup points.
Start, 498, 500 slower, so the start track definitely slower up there compared to the first run, but with the slower start, they still had the best velocity, which is the technique of the brakeman getting in the sled, creating a power step, and they were successful there. So was that exit of the S's.
600 a second, you normally take 3 taps down the bend away into Jena, around the Kreisel. First pressure, then the second pressure, the third one comes at you on the exit. You've got to control it, he does.
But he's 2/10 down. So the Monaco team, which had a disastrous first run, put together a great second run, and most likely will be the leader here, picking off 2 sleds.
Yep. Well, he had a good run out of the Kreisel, but there's no speed on board, and we saw this from the Koreans in the first heat from both their sleds. Rudy Rinaldi stays in the lead.
30 hundredths slower than his first run. Rinaldi went 30 hundredths quicker. So it tells you a good second run and how bad he did in the first run. Koreans got a little frustration. Look to him. This is the S's. Watch how high they get. Are they above? Hey, he looks in line there. Feel the rhythm of these 4 curves they call the snake pit. It's like a Disneyland ride in there. Good exit.
Yeah, if Disneyland did tumble dryers. There is Dong-Young Kim, and he may drop down to 10th in the World Cup rankings. 3 sleds down, 17 to come. Race 6 of the BMW IBSF two-man bobsleigh World Cup in Königssee in Bavaria. Martin Haven and John Morgan watching the action with you. This is Maxim Andrianov with Ilya Malik in the Russian sled. And they have a 6/500ths of a second lead over the current leader, Rudy Rinaldi of Monaco, who was the first man to start this second heat.
25th best start in the first run, which wasn't very good. 5 flat, so 5-4. 5 flat again.
You say 25th best, their coach will say 5th worst.
Yeah, agree with you. Drift out of that curve 1, and they're dead heat with Monaco now, and they had a slight lead of 500ths. And it's now 100th, and 1 hit, 2 hits, 3 hits. More than 3, we start talking about Elvis.
He's a mile an hour slow into the Kreisel.
500ths down. So how good was Monaco in the first run, or in the second run?
Nice looking run from Rudy Rinaldi. He's still in the lead. Andrianov struggling to find the pace. The gap's doubled out to a 10th.
Skid in the exit of the Ecovon straightaway.
And he loses a spot. Rudy Rinaldi on the left, Boris Vin on the right. There's the last Russian to win on this track. In the black cap, that's Alexander Zubkov. He was victorious in the World Championships in two-man 2011 here.
Well, when you got that deficient start time, you got to be perfect. Andrianov, you know, let's watch the technique from the brakeman. Look how flat it is, and then it drops off pretty quick, and he sort of slipped. And look at from 0 to 30 miles an hour. Look how Rinaldi was almost a half a kilometer better in that acceleration point.
Yeah. Andrianov will be the slowest starter in the final 20 sleds here. Next up is the man who is just about to lose the lead of the two-man World Cup rankings. This is Yoon Jung-won of Korea, 16th after the first heat, 0.5 of a second away from the lead of the event. And he is going to lose the leader's yellow jersey. There's Rudy Rinaldi, Boris Vin, your leaders from Monaco. Can they pick off our World Cup points leader?
I think the Koreans are struggling from within. They lost Malcolm Lloyd 1 year ago as the coach had passed away suddenly. Then they had a little dispute with their 2 mechanics who quit abruptly or got fired in mid-December. Koreans who were really impressive. In fact, this guy right here, 16th place into the run 1, won this event last year.
Yep.
And he'll be lucky to finish in the top 12.
He was the last man to win on this track. He was the two-man World Cup champion last year. He's our points leader now with 2 more World Cup races left. He's going to lose the lead of the World Cup here, even if he holds the race lead, but he's losing ground. It's down to only 1,500ths over Rinaldi. That's his first round advantage.
No mistake here in the straightaway.
200, he's going to go behind.
So. Wow. The Korean camp has got some issues.
Yeah.
Wow. That's the first time Rudy Rinaldi's ever beat him.
2,100 slower than Rinaldi on this run alone.
Shocking that this guy won the race last year.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with the equipment. There's nothing wrong with the runners. There's nothing wrong with the start time. It's spiritual in the Korean camp right now, and they have a lot of pressure on them as we're 3 weeks, a month away from going to the pre-Olympic test in Pyeongchang. And this is perplexing. And, where did he lose the speed? Well, the top speed out. Look at the difference. Almost a full kilometer wands down to Rinaldi, who's not one of the top players in the field.
And that's the speed as you then start to go uphill to the line. Rudy Rinaldi leads with 15 sleds to come. 5 down, 15 to come in the World Cup race number 6 for two-man bobsleigh. Rudy Rinaldi of Monaco leads. Rinaldi was in one of 2 heats in the top 20, 2 dead heats. Chris Spring of Canada is in another, tied for 14th with Poland's Maciej Luti, another the minnows of the sport. Poland, like our current leaders, Monaco.
Good day for Canada. They just won their first ever medal in the World Luge Championships, women's luge over in Innsbruck. Ken McRae came from 10th to 3rd. So let's see what the sprinter can do here. 1700ths lead, but you think that's a lot on most tracks, like the track next week in Innsbruck. This track here, there's a lot of boogeymen hanging out to kill your time. Speed 115, 114.5. It's pretty good.
Well, Springer was 1500s in front of Monaco. It's down to 1300s.
This is where Juan lost his time on the bottom part of the track. How good was Rudy Rinaldi?
500s. It's only the 3rd fastest speed. Will he hold the lead to the line? He does not! Monaco advance another spot. Spring is 100th behind in 2nd place.
Look at this crowd here, too. I mean, this crowd, again, it's like going to the Montreal Forum watching hockey. These people know, you know, it's the most educated sliding sports crowd on the planet, and they just appreciate sliding.
People have been sliding here on this track since before half the crowd were born, and on the natural track before it for a lot longer.
A little late here on the exit. Look at this, really late on the airborne exit of Kreisel, and that causes him to get down in here and a little extra steer there. Watch the back end of the slider. Pretty good transition, but boy.
Belgian girls watching trackside. They'll be racing again next week.
Chris Spring, I mean, you wouldn't know if he finishes 1st or 20th. That guy's so positive.
Matthias Luthi, one of the big stories in the first heat. 2nd on the ice, and that was definitely not a disadvantage for he and brakeman Krzysztof Tarkowski. And I know their #1 fan will be rooting for them back home in Poland. And Jeska, they think of you all the time.
Start 98 to a 97.
Wow.
Most of the teams did not improve. The Polish team did, but the 6th best velocity, and he's going to have a perfect drive. But Luthi has been impressing us in the first 3-4 World Cups of the 2nd half of the season with some very good driving.
Really starting to come of age, this young Polish driver.
Barely touches, 2 hits, coached by the Latvian Janis Minins, who brings his knowledge and instinct in the sport, including probably sets of runners.
Career high 11th in St. Moritz last week. He's only 700s in the bank. Has he got enough speed on board? He was quicker into the Kreisel.
Ranking in the speed.
His fastest, he's 100th behind. And this is Matthias Luthi versus Rudy Rinaldi. He doesn't make it. Wow, Rinaldi riding his luck.
When I saw the fastest speed there in the exit of the Ecovon, I thought he had a chance, but something didn't transfer well down the last 150 meters. So he falls back 2 spots behind Chris Spring.
Yep.
Look how close it is.
700s cover the top 3.
Luthi and Juan are tied now for 3rd to 100th. Love 100ths of seconds. How's the transition here? Ooh, a little bump. That's a square bump, we call it. See that? Now the sled is squarely going into below the runner line. See? You want to get that high runner line on the right. He was in the middle of it. That causes more pressure, more steering, more friction, loss of time.
First of 3 German sleds, and this is only 13th position after the first heat. He looked like he was getting his season back on track last week in St. Moritz, but Nico Walter still struggling for pace here in Königssee. The man from the Altenburg track with Kevin Kuska behind him.
I bet a lot of money that he's going to be the leader at the end of this heat. At the end of this run, excuse me. He shouldn't be back here.
4.95 in the first heat. Monaco equaled that.
4.96 start speed. Kevin Kuska. They had a bad start speed in the first run, and it's a little bit better, but not much in the second run. Kuska, the 4-time Olympic gold medalist with Andre Lange in the twilight of his career.
They had 1600s from the first heat, John, down to 14, and that was an uncomfortable entry into the bend away. They're in 3rd on the splits.
Not the same speed as Monaco. It was a 10th down. 14. There's 1,400's been lost here on the bottom by the previous couple sleds.
The track is doing no favors right now. It's not hard enough to give any extra speed. 75.2, 76.3 is top speed.
Right to the 100th.
And he will take the lead by 100th of a second.
Look at the German coaches don't like that, though.
And look, that's 100th to sneak into 13th ahead of Monaco and Poland.
This is the only German sled. It's an FES sled. The other sleds are, you know,
Hannes Wallner built them.
Sleds, and he couldn't afford them. Well, the Germans gave the Wallner sled to Friedrich, but here comes the lines out of S curve. Snuck out, and that cost him. Little looking, try and check the runners.
Tiny errors, but not enough to consign him to 13th.
Look at this, the difference between in the distance compared.
1.3 meters less ice, and he still loses speed to Rinaldi. It's not the drive.
No, he struggled all year with that sled, and look at his expression on his face.
It's like racing with a flat tire. 12 to go here in Königssee, Bavaria. Justin Kripps, a former winner on this track just 3 seasons ago. He took the gold medal. 2 years ago, he was in bronze, both times with Brian Barnett behind him. But the Canadians are struggling for pace. Martin Haven, John Morgan watching the action as Alexander Kopacz makes his first start of the season this weekend.
Yeah, he came in, no facial hair in the headshot. He was the only Canadian with any kind of facial hair. And, ooh, a little drift there, 490, pretty good start. Let's see what they do, second best. Not bad, not great velocity. 2100's lead, but on this track, even though it's a short track, like in Martinsville, anything can happen.
Like in Martinsville, it's so busy as well. You're never still for a moment. This is a good bend away from Kripps. The standard 3 taps. Good line into Jena.
Speed, pretty good. Not the best.
Mile an hour off the pace. He was 2/10 up. He's now 1600s.
And 1600s, he'll have all he could do to get to the bottom. Here's the leader, falling away.
He was 1100s ahead of Nico Walter. He's only adding a little to that, but he takes the lead at the line, guarantees himself at least a top 12.
2300 slower, and this is the guy who won the event a couple years ago.
Yep.
And he's had a rough second half of this tour.
3 years ago, January 2014, he was the winner here. 2 years ago, a bronze medal. This year, can't get in the top 10.
Well, this is the S's. This is the Disneyland part of the track where you just sweep left to right to left to right, and it's on the back of a sled. It's like you're free falling.
We need to sell Disney Ice Mountain. There's Alex Kopacz on the left. A little bit of Cardinal Richelieu going on there with the beard. Into our top 10 sleds here in Königssee, Bavaria. We have 11 in the top 10. We had a dead heat for 10th, we had a dead heat for 14th, we had a dead heat for 19th. This is the last tie to be broken. Former brakeman Ugus Zalims now driving with Jannis Janssens behind him. Martin Haven, John Morgan watching the action trackside here in Bavaria with you.
Okay, now we got some action. Zalman's only driving 2-man this week. I asked him why he wasn't driving 4-man. He was filming 4-man practice. And he said, well, all my team is up at the Junior World Championships, which means some of his brake crew are up there driving sleds in the Junior Worlds, which is for athletes under the age of 25.
Zalims 300s from the first heat in hand over Justin Kripps of Canada, our current leader, and that will go away. Surely he'll be in the red at the next clock.
114, better speed though than Kripps.
Still 400s up. Tiny margin.
We talk about the Junior World Championships. Whoever wins, what country, they get an automatic placement into the World Championships. So
600s.
That's why the people go up there and compete for an extra spot in the World Championships.
And to be a Junior World Champion is still a big feather in a lot of people's hat. Don't forget, Francesco Friedrich did that 3 seasons ago, came in and won the Senior Worlds off that free entry.
Only person ever to do that. Well, so this means that we're going to have 3 Latvian sleds in what, top 10?
Well, yeah, he was 10th, but we've still got 10 to go because of that tie. So he might be in, he might be out. Well, lots of Latvian fans here, as everywhere.
Look at the lines. Remember, he went late in the heat. There was no time left in that track in the first heat for anybody going about 12th back. And look at the speed zone. Look at the difference. Zalman's 0.2 of a kilometer slower.
Just a fraction between him and Justin Cripps, and that's all it took. Zalim's on the left, Janssens on the right. They are your leaders with 10 to go here in Königssee, Bavaria. Wow. So a busy race already. 3 dead heats in the fastest 20 sleds. We've broken 2 of them. And Ugo Salims leads with 10 to go. Justin Cripps just a fraction behind him. The question is, having broken the track record twice in the first heat, is there enough left in the track for that to happen again?
I don't think so. I think the track's spent. They had how many loose sleds or skeleton sleds down there this morning? And
yep.
You know, there's only so much the track workers can do. Plus, it's about 7-8 degrees warmer today than yesterday.
Yeah.
Look
nice
at the stunning
-2, but
stunning pictures. Yeah. I mean, this is shocking. So let's give us the mountain update.
Yeah, well, they're still the same as they were before.
Yeah.
We were just looking at the Königssee mountain, and over behind, just peeking into the top left of the shot, that is Jena. Jena is the big ski area here outside Berchtesgaden. Ugo Salims there, thinking his way down that run still. Junior World Championships in Sigulda, Latvia. That's where half his team is. That's where...
No, Winterberg. Skeleton is in... Skeletons in...
Oh, yeah, Skeletons in Junior Worlds in Sigulda, and women's bobsleigh as well.
That means the British team, the British will have available to them 3 women's sleds in the competition.
Unfortunately, they've only got 1 driver. Misha McNeil was going to go to the Worlds anyway, and she's just won the Junior Worlds, so she'll be going anyway.
There's another girl in the Europa Cup Tour.
I don't know if she's done enough tracks.
Yeah, maybe there's a rule about that.
Is that 5-2-1? Whatever the rule is to allow you to compete in the World Cup, I wouldn't be surprised. Might not be quite the same for the World Championships.
See the big Kreisel curve on the right?
Sun is going down. Temperature is following it here in Königssee. In the shadow of the Grünstein mountain, this artificial track at Königssee in Bavaria. The venue for race 6 of the 2-man bobsleigh World Cup. Martin Haven, John Morgan watching the action. There's your leaders, Ugo Salims, Yannis Janssens on the right. And they were in a dead heat for 10th place with these guys, Alexander Kasyanov and Alexei Pushkarev of Russia. So one of them be in the top 10, maybe not both.
499 start, and the Latvians had a 489. So, and the 4th best velocity, which is pretty good considering the start. They had the 10th best start, 4th best velocity. That tells you Pushkarev, the brakeman, had the good power step into the sled.
Good run onto the bend away, this curving straight, 1, 2, 3 taps into the left-hander at Jena.
Kasyanov, 1:14.9. That's some great speed, some of the best we've seen so far. He is a good speed merchant on the bottom of these tracks. He's going to need to be to overcome the deficit he's got with the Latvians.
Gap was out to 1500s, it's down to 1200s of a second,
that's a mistake
down to
there.
8.
That's going to
fastest speed of all. Don't forget they were tied to the 100th.
No, that mistake.
Doesn't make it.
That one mistake on the exit of the Ecovon. Look at Zubkov on the right. He knows that his top driver just made a big error on the bottom part of the track, had a deficient start time. He was 1100ths behind at the start, lost by 4 at the bottom. Mistake going uphill in the section of the track I call the graveyard. This is out of the exit of Kreisel. Does he square up or does he get a good turn? Yeah, it's not bad. But his mistake was made down below in the Ecovon when he hit in that straightaway.
He is, offers his congratulations to the Latvians. Alexander Kasyanov slips into 2nd place, 9 to come. Only Swiss sled to make the 2nd heat, unsurprisingly, Rico Peter, his teammate Beard Hefty, who's been an occasional World Cup performer for the last couple of seasons, just withered away this afternoon. No Alex Baumann. Alex is still not quite 100%, so Thomas Amrine, who's not exactly a slight disappointment, he's on the back of the sled to give Rico Peter a shot at maybe moving up the order.
silver medal at the first event of the year in Whistler. Hasn't been on the podium since. Struggled at the start with a 92.
Teammate Ben Hefty's had 2 wins and 2 silver medals in the last 5 years on this track. Rico Peter's never taken a medal here, but it's Peter that makes the top 8 and Hefty doesn't make the top 20.
Hard to believe we've got only one sled from Switzerland in the top 20 in this field. Switzerland bobsledding, other than Rico Peter, has fallen on hard times.
So Rico is rock solid in 2-man and 4-man at the moment. Only one result is out of the top 10. That was last weekend in St. Moritz. He was 15th in the 2-man
track. He's going to have to hustle here on the bottom, because I think Zalmans is going to pick off another athlete here.
Yep, Zalms and Kazyanov are going to move up at the moment, and so is Justin Cripps. He's down to 4th place on the splits. He is 4th at the line.
6th best time.
Yeah, Cripps moves up, Zalms moves up, Kazyanov moves up.
Wow. The Swiss are maybe...
They are in a tailspin, and this is not a good warm-up for the World Championships here in 3 weeks for Switzerland either.
He was in the top 3 at both 2 and 4 after the Christmas break, and he's been following tough times for Rico Peter. Last week's performance in St. Moritz was catastrophic.
2-man silver in Whistler seems a long while ago.
Yeah, you know, this is the S's speed. Look at the difference in speed. It's pretty equal.
Well, he's just a fraction ahead of Zalms.
This is the Disneyland portion of the track. 4 S's, what they call the snake pit. Little tap in the exit. Watch the back end here. Little airborne. And, you know, tough to get through there clean.
Well, there's Rico Peter, smile never far from his face. Uge Zalms and his big brakeman Jannis Janssens still lead, 8 to go. 8th place, Bruce Tasker and Joel Fearon. And just to reiterate, Misha McNeil and Mika Moore have just won the Women's Bobsleigh Junior World Championships this afternoon in Sigulda. So congratulations to them. Now, 8th place to 1st place, 2600ths of a second. This is unbelievably close racing now.
487 in the first run. 3rd best start, 486. Let's watch. Should be the best velocity. 4th best velocity.
Bumps into the first corner.
Yeah, that hard. So, Bruce, one of the developing drivers, but he developed into a 4th place finish last year at the World Championships in Innsbruck. It was Britain's best finish at the World in 50 years.
Long skid. He was 800ths ahead from the first heat. He had 18th out of the Schlangengruber onto the bend away. 1200s still in front.
We've seen 1200s get thrown away on the straightaway after Ecovand right here. Needs to be
Zalms was fastest at the bottom. He's only 10th fastest, 600ths of a second. He's going to lose a ground here. No! How does he do that? 49.74 run, top 8 guaranteed.
Good run for Bruce Tasker. This is a big British hope here. This is some athlete in the front. It's the 3rd fastest Briton ever in the 100-meter sprint in the back, Joel Fearon.
Yep.
When Bruce figures out how to drive these sports cars, he's going to be a name to challenge to a podium finish.
19th, 12th, 13th, his 3 World Cup races in 2-man this season.
And he sneaks out of here, barely gets out of the S's, and lets the sled run. Little skid here. That's costly, but 1 hit, 2 hits. 3, that was costly. Look at Pete Gunn nose.
Chris Woolley on the left, a little bit more sanguine, but they will be no worse than 8th here. Take the lead off Uge Zalms and Jannis Janssens. There's Bruce Tasker. 7 to go in Königssee, Bavaria. Our final Russian driver is Alexei Stulnev, 100th of a second, the first heat advantage over the current leader, Bruce Tasker of Great Britain.
He's going to get crushed here at the start. Tasker beat him by 1100ths in the first run. So these guys had a 498, Tasker at an 86, so he's got to get 95 or something to have a chance here. 97, exact same time. Or no, 100th better, but this Russian here has been coming every week, 4th and 5th in Winterberg and Altenburg for his best finishes ever, and he's challenging Kazyanov for the top Russian pilot. That 1800s back, that's in the relation to the start.
He's 42 points behind Kasinov.
Big speed, though. Best speed we've seen of anybody to this point of the track.
Kasinov's third at the moment, but he's still in the red behind Bruce Tasker.
Oh, he's going to be the green. He's going to come in the green here.
Speed at the bottom. What's he got? He is in the green. Is it top speed for the Russian sled? It is top speed. He will finish no worse than 7th place as he takes the lead from Great Britain.
He's been consistent. 49.57, 20 slower. And he has been consistent in two-man bobsled. And his deficiencies in the start, I mean, he's got the 9th best start. You know, he had the 19th best start in the first run. But to drive like that with a deficient start time tells you a lot about his ability as a driver and the equipment.
Only Uga Zalims has been almost 2/10 slower on his second heat. He moved up 3 spots as a result.
Tasker, look at the difference. Stolnev had more distance
took
he
a
covered.
longer
That little zip right there, but the exit here. This might be the best transition onto the Kelstein curve of anybody we've seen yet, except the sled's airborne.
Yep.
You can't tell.
Look at the ice, it's cutting as well, bouncing around like that. But he can't get a sled down there clean.
He's had a good month.
6 sleds remain, race 6 of the two-man bobsleigh World Cup here in Königssee, Bavaria. Benny Meyer and Markus Sammer looking to pull off a big coup here for Austria. 100th of a second their advantage over current leader Alexei Stulnev. They need a big run.
They need a big start. 89 in the first run. 89 or better at least here in the second run for this young pilot. 490. Start speed, velocity, 5th.
Means he's got 800ths in hand when he sits down, 1400ths of a second over the Russians.
The exit of the Disneyland curves. Ooh, you can see him trying to get control. The back end's got a skid going. So 115.8 was the Russian speed. He's only got 114.2. He's going to bleed.
Too slow.
He's going to bleed some time back here. The Russian was perfect out here. I don't know. I don't think he's got a chance.
200ths of a second. He needs top speed at the bottom. The Russians were at 76.7 miles an hour. He's 9th fastest, a mile an hour too slow. He'll go down 2 or 3 spots too. So he drops 900 of a second to Stulnev. But still, another top 10 result for Benny Meyer.
Yeah, another one of my young guns. Next week goes home to his home track in Innsbruck. He's really taken Austrian bobsledding the last couple of years to a new lead that they get hammered by skiing in Austria. Should be on the right side of our screen here, not flat. That's pretty good. But when he comes out, he's got a skid going. Look at the runner tips. He's trying to get control. He does that check move that everybody does to try and get control of the sled, but wasn't enough.
There's Elizabeth Arce offering her congratulations. 5 to come, he's in second, but it is so tight he could move up. Stulnev, Meyer, Tasker, the top 3, 5 to come. Standout for Latvia this season in men's bobsled has been Oskars Kibermanis. His race-winning teammate Oskars Melbardis has been injured and is still recovering. Kibermanis lying in 5th position after the first heat. Advantage over current leader Alexei Stulnev, 400ths of a second.
He's going to crush Stulnev at the start too. He had a 484 in the first run. It's one of the better starting teams in the field. These two young guns, 22-year-old. Ooh, a little drift there, 43. Let's see if that drift cost him with the speed. Yeah. Best start, 3rd best velocity, 57.1 though. It's
sits down with 1/4 of a second in hand into the S's.
The last 3 weeks, a bronze, both in the two-man, then a gold in the four-man in St. Moritz last week. This young 22-year-old has made a name for himself, but his sled lost all sorts of speed in the bottom part of the track in the first run, and that's not great speed there compared to the Russian. I don't know if he's got enough here in the bank to do it.
Stulnev had the best speed out of the final corner, out of Echo here, uphill. He'll be in the third place.
It's gonna be close.
Can't call this. At the line, it's Stulnev by 100th. He moves up again.
That means Stulnev has got another 5th with a start time of 19th in the first run.
Yeah.
And he's probably got the worst start in the second run.
One slower, and that'll be Maxim Andrianov, his teammate.
Mile and a half in distance, 2 heats, and he lost by less than your fingernail.
It's about a foot, possibly, not even that much.
You know, I didn't like the start. The brakeman here, there's a little bit of variance. Look at the brakeman, look at the angle. Look at the size of him, first of all, the way these guys can run. But Stolnev,
well, that's their 0 to 30 acceleration. Look, blew
watch the
the
brakeman
Russians
get in
away.
here. Does he run too late? Now watch the sled come to the right. No. You know, we're dealing with 100th of a second. He just lost 100th of a second at the bottom.
Well, the sled was still going straight when he leapt in. And now here comes our third Latvian. Keeper Manisli's second, Zalimslai's fifth. Melbardis still to go here, and there are 3 sleds to remain. So all 3 Latvians will be in the top 10. Oskars Melbardis, Dauman's Dreskins, the start record holders from the World Championships, from pre-Worlds in November 2011.
Okay, these guys are about 75%. Melbardis back surgery over the summer. He's just getting back into form. 492. He's the start record holder here, which is 477. 8th best velocity with that beast in the back getting in, but you know, he's not operating on all 8 cylinders here.
2 silver medals here, but he's never won. 1200s ahead of Stolnev.
Gonna need 115 speed to have a chance.
The BTC Latvian sleds were the fastest of all in Samoritz last week, but on this shorter, tighter track, will they get a chance to stretch their legs?
Stolnev is gonna catch him here.
Can Stolnev make the medals? That would be remarkable from the Russian.
No, he's not gonna do it.
Behind, Stolnev could still lead this with 3 to go, and he does.
His ties his best ever. This guy is emerging here as Russia #1 over Kasanov. It's just going to make Kasanov get pushed even more.
Yeah, Kasanov, poke a bear with a stick often enough, you're going to pay the price. Kasanov 7th, Stolnev leads. Stolnev may now be overhauling Kasanov in the World Cup standings.
Well, Melbardis, look how gingerly he gets out of the sled.
Yeah.
These 2 big guys, they're about 6 of 8 cylinders operating right now. And the speed distance here, this is through these S's, you know, and it's about driving. It's about feel. And, you know, there's a lot of ice. There's a lot of ice there to cover.
Yep.
And little drift. Look at him, look at the replay. Little drift out of that 4th S. Now the medals.
3 sleds to come, Königssee, Bavaria, round 6 of the 2-man bobsleigh World Cup. Stephen Holcomb of the USA, winner in Lake Placid in the 2-man. Bronze in Samoritz last week, lies 3rd after the first of our 2 heats. I'm Martin Haven, alongside me, John Morgan. And John, on this track, with Carlo Valdez behind him, 19th start in the first heat, but 3rd at the bottom.
He had the same start as Stolnev, who's at the bottom, who's in the lead. So Holcomb outdrove Stolnev. He's going to have to do it again. And 496. So that's a better start than Stolnev by a lot. 8th best velocity.
By 100th.
I say a lot. 100.
Yeah, well, on this track, 100 is a lot.
So Holcomb, still, you know what, bronze medal last week with St. Moritz with that unbelievable driving. That's a much better exit than he had in the first run.
Textbook start from Stephen Holcomb with the lead.
Speed, 115.3, not the same as Stolnev, but close.
Close. It's speed out of the big Echo Bond at the bottom here.
Get close down here.
Hold your breath back home in the USA, because Steve Holcomb could be in the medals for the 3rd time this season.
Oh yeah, he's pulling away now.
Second fastest speed, that's all he needs. Holcomb will take at least a bronze medal.
Something I thought he couldn't do on this track. It's too short for a bad start time, but the guys at the top of the leaderboard right now both had the 19th best starts in the first run, so it shows you still have an opportunity to show as a pilot.
That's what happens when you buy the coach's dinner the night before the 2-man.
Yeah, they weren't very optimistic last night about his chances either, so, you know, I'll just ask Brian Scheimer. He'll tell you.
What a job. Holcomb and Valdez have the lead with 2 to go. And don't forget, only 14 hundredths of a second covered the top 3.
Holkie over there playing with the crowd, but he deserves it. Just, you know, he's a driver. Top speed. Look at the difference. Holcomb, that 1/10 of a kilometer an hour. Well,
just enough. just enough for Stephen Holcomb of the USA. High-fiving his way down the... There's a lot of high fives there, Holky. 2 to go. Germany 1-2 in the first heat. Francesco Friedrich won here in December 2015. Bronze in the last race. Can he overhaul his team?
He
can't get
in.
Oh, and he's going to hit the wall.
Look out. Big start mistake. And now he has to gather himself. He still has a good velocity, but that's going to come down on the next clock.
Double two-man world champion.
He had a 2,500s lead, more problems.
3 wins already this season. It is coming unraveled faster than a ball of string. 2,800s up still.
How can he have that speed?
He's driving like Rico Peter, only more inaccurate. 2,300s. How can he still have that after
speed
the
with
start?
those mistakes.
Wow. Electrifying stuff from Francesco Friedrich.
Down to 10th.
Speed only 6th. He's going to be 100th in the lead. No! A dead heat. It's silver for Holcomb. And Valdez at least as he ties with Friedrich and Margis. But how did Francesco Friedrich even get that after that start? Wow.
I think he just did it for entertainment. Wow.
What, does he not think we're old enough already?
But what a sportsman. I mean, this, unbelievable. Does he run too far? I think he gets hooked
his
up.
Foot caught as he goes over the cowl.
They do this 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Oh, he almost didn't get in.
He almost went over the top.
And now watch. How can he even tie Holcomb with that? And then down here on the bottom. Oh, look at that big.
Yeah, big steer
out of there.
Bend away was horrible. Long skid. Anybody else would have been consigned to the graveyard. Charlie Booker watching on. If you are, you will have seen some wild races here. This might be a race for generations.
Well,
local boy Johannes Lochner, born and bred in Berchtesgaden with Joshua Bloom, leading after the first heat, fresh off his first ever 2-man World Cup win last week in St. Moritz.
I don't know if he just saw what happened to Friedrich. Most of the time, you don't look what happens.
Oh, caught his foot as well. Oh, come on, they're just toying with us now. 491.
Velocity, 7th best velocity. Well, and he didn't hit.
Still 1,800s in front. He had 1,400s over Holcomb from the first heat.
Wow, this is, we're perplexed. This track. You're not safe until you get to the finish line. That's pretty smooth. It might have been too smooth. 159 though is speed.
Top speed equal in the Kreisel.
2,100s.
He's going away. Wow. He's got to keep it tidy.
Local guy with his father here. Family. He's born about a mile from the track.
Second straight 2-man win of his World Cup career. Johannes Lochner does it in Bavaria.
He's won 4 of the last 6 races, 2 2s, 2 4s. He's only 26 years old. We thought Friedrich was the star of the German camp.
That's what happens when you have dinner with his father 2 nights before the 2-man race. You're the lucky token here. If only Friedrich knew.
His favorite athlete is his uncle Rudy, who won the Olympic silver medal in Albertville in '92. Bavaria.
2 for 2, 2 wins in a week. Saturday St. Moritz, Saturday in Bavaria. His home track, Johannes Lochner, does it again.
Yeah, he's probably talking to his father right above him.
Wow, and everybody at the track knows
everybody
him.
Wants a piece. Look at Friedrich, though.
Yeah.
I have such respect.
You know
what a sportsman that guy is.
And so much sportsmanship in that German lineup.
Do you think they're driving each other?
Yeah.
Wow. Look at the start, though. I mean, they almost didn't get in. 2 Germans in a row. The problem's getting in. They might have to go practice that tonight. Wow.
Got in, got out, got back in again, and won by nearly a quarter of a second.
Okay, we've had 12 races. He's won 4 of them. 4 of the last 6. What kind of roll is he on?
Well, Friedrich's had 3 wins, Holcomb 1, and Lochner now on to his 2nd this season. Kim Jong-won has had 1 trip to the podium and loses the World Cup standings leader. Lochner wins, Friedrich and Holcomb tie for silver, Stulnev up to 4th from where was he in the first heat, 7th. And then Kibamanis, Melbardis, and Maya. Wow. Breathless stuff. And Yoon Jung-won, 16th position. Kazyanov will lose top Russian spot, I think, to his teammate Alexei Stulnev. A remarkable afternoon.
Can they make it any more exciting for us?
Well, we've got two-man tomorrow. What insanity, four-man rather, what insanity are they going to bring out tomorrow?
I thought we had an exciting four-man race last week in St. Moritz.
Oh, goodness me. Just, yeah.
Look at this, look at the sunset here.
What a season this has been, though. You know, from Whistler, which was exciting, it's just got better and better and better every week. Whoever's hired the script writer for this season, I think they might need a raise. And yes, you're right. The sun has gone down, the temperature's plummeting, but the vista here is stunning. And all the Johannes Lochner flags in the crowd, all in the grandstand, on the roof above the finish area. They're waving them at us in front of our little window. There's our little booth up the top there by the pylons. Handily situated by corner 10 and two Glühwein stands. No relation.
Pretty fortunate to be here with this crowd. I mean,
what a place to come racing. What a place to come racing.
We miss going to Sochi for the World Championships, but replacing it with here is like going from Kansas City to New York for the World Series. I mean, this is some venue, and yes, the Germans are powerful here, but, you know.
Madison Square Garden, perhaps.
This is the
Madison Square Garden.
There's the first time. Good stuff.
Yeah. Make a note of that, and I'll try never to say that again. Well, if you think there's a decent crowd on hand here, and you're right, there is on this Saturday afternoon, when the World Championships are in town, the whole town will be out in force, and especially with two Germans capable easily of winning in two-man and four-man, and that's to say nothing of their skeleton teams, which swept the podium with the women, got a first-time medal with Alexander Gassner today. The Germans are looking very strong here on home ice in Bavaria. The World Championships will be a clarion call to their fans. Come on, get revved up, because the Olympic Games is less than 300 days away and counting. Königssee, Bavaria, race 6 of the BMW IBSF two-man bobsleigh World Cup, and three-time winner Francesco Friedrich moves to the lead ahead of Stephen Holcomb. Alexei Stulnev does vault Alexander Kazyanov, and Yoon Jung-won, who came in here as our points leader, slips to 5th, barely ahead of our second race winner this season, or two-time race winner, Johannes Lochner. Lots of changes in the order. People are going up and down. It's like a deck of cards every time we have a race. There's just so many changes.
Can't believe the guys with the 19th best starts in the first run are finishing tied for second and fourth in the competition on a short Martinsville type track.
Giving away 16 hundredths of a second at the start twice, that's 0.3 of a second, and still being within sight of the winner. Here is our winner though, Johannes Lochner and Joshua Bloom. His first two-man win came a week ago. His first on his home track comes today. Well, Hannes with a really strong first heat, had 0.09 of a second lead. It should perhaps have been a dead heat for gold. Friedrich made a mistake at the start, Lochner a mistake at the start, but not as bad a one. And he claims his second straight win in two-man to go with 2 gold medals in the four-man, and the love between them is quite remarkable. Holcomb in the middle there, joint silver medalist with Friedrich's team on the left. Johannes Lochner, Joshua Bloom on the right are race winners. Heike Grosswang, the secretary of the International Bobsleigh and Skeleton Federation, hands out the prizes. Big grin in the grey hat, Torsten Margis, the blue hat, Francesco Friedrich. Tied for silver, Stephen Holcomb and Carlo Valdez. And there's a result they might not have expected this morning. And our race winners for the second weekend in a row, Johannes Lochner with that big cheesy grin, and Joshua Bloom alongside him. Wow. Electrifying stuff all season, all weekend here in Königssee, and we still have the four-man race to come. Join John Morgan, me, Martin Haven, and the IBSF TV crew for the final race here in Königssee on Sunday. And then we will see who comes out in the blue ribbon event. Until then, auf Wiedersehen from Königssee. It's goodbye.